morning, everyone. Today's Thursday, August 10th, 2023. And we're here for a work session. As always, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Bob, can you please take the lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. And I have two announcements. This past Saturday, at the annual cardboard race between Riverhead Supervisor and Southampton, they took the trophy the last two annual events, and we're not used to losing, so I decided to up the game, although I was calling Ringa. I spoke to the Peconic paddler who's been here for 53 years on the Peconic, and told him we need help, we need to win. And he was a little reluctant because he lived in Southampton. So he said, right, do the boat. But I asked him to come to my office. By the time he left, he was going to Home Depot to get cardboard. And so we want to give a shout out to Jim Drebin and to my deputy supervisors. You know, earlier this year I had a double break with surgery on my ankle, and unfortunately I wasn't able to do it again, and so she stood up for the third year thinking she was going to lose, and she killed it. We have the trophy now, and I'll bring it to the next town board meeting. So thank you, Devin. Thank you, Jim Drebin. And we got it, it's our trophy. But one interesting thing was, as we're walking up the victory ramp from the dock, I asked Jay, let's hold hands in victory. And he looked at me, it's like very strange remark. And we picked up our hands and we walked up, everybody started clapping. And at the end of the ramp, he says to me, every time I walk up this ramp and I win, I get booed. And so that shows a point of the difference between him and us. And so again, it was a good race. And just a reminder, tomorrow is Friday, August 11th, is our next Alive on 25 festival on Main Street. And we'll encourage everyone to come out between 5:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. to enjoy bands. There's going to be multiple stages and food and craft vendors, outdoor dining, and it's always a great time. And the weather looks like it's going to be good, so hopefully you can make it. And then I have Bob, our Councilman Kern. He has two announcements to make. Bob?
Oh, yeah. So stop the by and see if you've never been there. It's a basketball tournament that involves semi-pro tri-state teams, and it's going to be at Horton Avenue Park this Saturday, August 12th, and then Sunday, the 13th. It's phenomenal if you haven't been there. It starts at 10 a.m. both days, and they have an amazing announcer. And Dwayne, if you're listening, I hope he's here back this year. So that's it. Thank you.
The quality of basketball played at that tournament is phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
There's semi-pro players. It's really cool to watch because there's some really great ball players.
And there's going to be one ex-pro there from the NBA
Yes.
this weekend.
Yep.
But it's amazing. And Ray, I want to thank the Recreation Department for getting the surface at the basketball court all taken care of for this event.
Came out nice, yep,
Yeah.
very nice.
And Eliza, shout out for you. You do this every year, and it gets better and better. And the fried fish sandwich is great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, but send you lots of wishes and good luck. And thank you for doing this for our community. And we're going to get right into our first discussion items, which is matters surrounding safety concerns at water and beach access points on Meeting House Creek Road and South Jamesport Avenue. I know there's been a lot of and various meetings and discussion about these two areas with our traffic safety and our beach committees, and this is a problem that's endemic across all our waterways. So we're going to see what this conversation, where it's going to go, and it'll be interesting. We have our recreation superintendent, Ray Coyne, here. We're going to ask him to come forward, and we're going to ask Ken, Tim, if you want to start it off, and the members of those groups, if you'd like to come forward, please.
And the chief also.
And the chief. Oh, members of the groups, yeah. And there's chairs on the sides if you need more.
Outside
Good morning. So I know that you, just to let the public know, you had a meeting with traffic safety and the chief?
Yes.
Then you came, were asked to come to the last town board meeting and asked to go on the agenda, but you were, just so you know, you were already on the agenda. So,
Okay.
and so here we are, and here's the opportunity.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're going to start with the bulkhead, and we really appreciate, first of all, we
You have to
thank...
say your name
Oh,
now,
I'm
tell
sorry.
the public, okay? So we're educating, we just can't
Okay,
copy.
sorry.
It's
Tina
okay.
Newman, 96 Pine Avenue, Aquabug.
Okay.
So we appreciate the work that you did on the bulkhead recently, and we appreciate this meeting and getting together with us. This has been a long-standing problem in our community. So I did provide some pictures of the latest, how the bulkhead looks. Mark provided some pictures of what it looked like prior. There's all different stages, but there's a section of prints that look like what it looks like now. So apparently 11 years ago when Sean Walters was the supervisor, there was a grant, a bond to repair, and about 1/3, you'll see it in the pictures, 1/3, and that remains in really good shape from 11 years ago. But the rest of the bulkhead has been Band-Aid. I'm sorry for a better term. And the nor'easters really hammer that bulkhead, and it rips away and it kind of erodes it. It gets behind it, and all of the repairs that have been done have been just negated and just been torn away. So, we're looking, we know that has to be a bond. We know that we've heard that the town does not have the funds for that, and that we'd have to go, and look to the state to get.
It could also come from community benefit.
Okay.
And we do get, we get a substantial amount of money, and those are the things that we should be applying them to.
Right.
And you're
right.
not only the only person, which is unfortunate, there's other communities that are starting to see that, and you're right, every year, every storm.
Every year, especially with, whatever's happening in the atmosphere and the environment, and it impacts some of our neighbors who live right there, who get continually flooded, because I guess the purpose of the bulkhead is to, preserve the road and to preserve the properties that adjoin that. So I know that that's for future work that we can, you guys have to work that out and how that's going to be done.
Now, has the engineering department become part of this? Because he's the one that's supposed to do the assessment and understand what has to be done, give us a CBA on it, cost-benefit analysis?
He was down there, yes.
Okay, so
I know
he's
he was
been
down there, so
engaged.
I'm not sure of whether or not your office got all the information that you need to get at this point.
Okay, well,
Okay? Yeah, so that was not shared with me, his assessment.
okay, when did you meet with him?
I didn't meet with him, another neighbor met with him down there.
Was it recently? or-
Yes, it was recently, it was probably about a week ago.
So,
He met with Deb Gallagher, who lives adjacent there,
okay.
okay, and he was there.
So that connection should be made, so we have a better understanding
Sure,
what
sure.
we're dealing with.
Okay, all right, well, this is a process that we're learning through, too.
Yeah, it's good. No,
Okay, there's a
yep.
learning curve for us.
Yeah,
Okay, so that being set aside, the parking situation down there. So you know that it's parking with permit for residents only, and they can park up, parking is from, they're allowed to park till 10 p.m. at night. So we're wondering whether or not if it's feasible to move that to dawn to dusk, because we don't see any good reason to park
Okay.
after the sun goes down there. And that's when most of our issues happen. So
Sure.
neighbors adjoining can see the activity when they're sitting out on their patios in the back, and
Right.
they're having, their nice s'mores
No.
or whatever they're doing, their drinks, and the cars are coming and going, and the drug deals are happening, and whatever else is going on there. So we're wondering whether that could be changed. to
Okay,
dawn
so
to dusk.
we usually have a process for that, and the chief is charged with safety,
Yeah.
road safety and any of those conditions.
Yeah.
And Chief, have you been briefed on this? Are you part of this? Have you had meetings? Because he usually will check, make sure that we're following whatever regulations, sometimes there were state regulations, and he's charged with that. That's,
Okay.
so
So
what
we
is
discussed
your
that with him,
understanding,
yeah.
Chief? And then he usually reports to us to say, we want, you did an assessment, you checked, am I incorrect? That's the process.
Right.
You're
So-
really charged with traffic, so did you want to give that part?
Sure, so it's 10, no parking 10 PM to 6 AM.
Yes,
I don't know
presently.
if you really want to change that to dusk to dawn.
Chief, you need to move
Yes.
closer to the mic.
I don't know if you want to change that because dawn can be much earlier than 6 AM, so you could have cars there earlier than 6 AM, so
Yeah, but then it's going into, you know, light. and,
yeah,
You know, there'll be a light show.
it changes with the seasons, for
Yes,
sure, yeah.
so, I know, it will change with the season,
Right.
right. So,
But you could have cars down there at 4:30 in the morning. I'm sure you don't want that either.
well, I don't know which is worse. So if we don't change it and find out, we're not gonna know.
We
So we
can-
leave it as is, we know what we get.
I think you gotta change the lighting down there. I think that's very important, to put LED
Yes,
lights down there,
and we
because
just-
that will deter people from doing anything in
Yeah,
that
but
area.
that also, hurts the neighbors there with the intense lighting.
It does, but the LED
John
lights come
Gallagher
right
doesn't want
down.
to see big lights at the end of his
No,
house.
I'm saying these LED lights come straight down, so it's a little bit of a difference.
Ray?
Can you just go 6 AM to sunset?
Yeah, we could try that.
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm
right in
just
the
gonna see
middle.
what's in code that mirrors that, so.
Okay,
The only
Ray,
problem with
we
that is
discussed-
all our other
okay.
beaches
Oh,
are all
10 to
6,
6, right.
no parking from 10 PM to 6 AM. And I'm not looking to change the other beaches, and it's much easier enforcement-wise if everything is the same way across the board for the town. And 10 o'clock is not that late for somebody to be down.
But there's nothing to see.
what are they doing?
There's-
What do they-
there's a-
what do they-
a full
what do they
moon
look out at?
People look-
It's dark.
People enjoy that look down there as much as you do sitting on your decks. And it is town property, and it's the town residents' rights to be there until 10 o'clock at night. I think what we have to do is we have to do better enforcement down there and make
lighting.
sure.
The chief has been excellent with the enforcement, there's been no doubt about that. But it still continues when his men are,
And women.
even if they come down 4 or 5 times a day and make the loop, and that's a lot, and people have noticed, and, I don't know how many tickets they've given out or how many, people have been affected, but, it's we're seeing it, we're seeing the cop cars down there, so, and people, I disagree with you on the 10 PM. There's nothing good happening after sunset down there. That's the way we as a community feel. And if one has to be changed to find out, I think we should give it a shot. People come down, they have coffee in the morning, they have a little breakfast, they do whatever. Hey, that's fine, that's viewing, it's waterfront viewing. Waterfront access, which we've been discussing also, that's a whole nother problem with, kayaks and cars and just, you have a write-up in the newspaper about how beautiful it is down there. We get crushed. It's more people than go see the duck in Flanders come down this block. So it's something that needs attention. And the amount of traffic going back and forth, turning around, coming back, it's a lot.
So, all right, so
We're
we're
skipping.
pointing,
but-
we're pointing on some other issues.
Can I just
So-
ask one question to
Sure,
that point while
absolutely.
we're on this? So when the police come down there, is it at night or during the day?
All day, all night.
All night, random
All night.
times.
So,
Random
Chief-
times, they come, they
Okay.
make a report.
I get it. So Chief, how many tickets are being given out at night?
I'll have to check, I don't have that number with me.
Okay, I'm just curious, that's
Right.
all, okay.
We've also encouraged the chief to ask his
What
guys,
can you ticket for, chief?
Yeah, that's-
Parking without permit,
which is
parking
that,
after 10 PM.
Okay, but
Right.
that's it,
Yeah.
not people having access.
oh,
Right, I know, I just want to make sure that.
Depends what they're doing.
if they're poaching,
Right.
which happens,
We have duck hunters, putting their boats in the water there with their motors, down the 6-foot bulkhead, and it's dangerous.
You get a fishing permit after 10 o'clock, too.
yes,
so-
yeah, there is a
They can be there all night.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
So Ray, getting back to the lighting, about 10 years ago, we did have a meeting, and they were supposed to increase the lighting there. So I'm not sure, I think they did it, but I'm wondering whether or not, does the town ever use light sensors, that go on and off for activity, ever? Is that something that,
Motion
motion
detection.
detectors, is that something that would, thank you. Is that something that maybe could be implemented?
From the security standpoint, yes, it is. And that's why you use it. When something
Exactly,
comes
exactly.
into that area, that you have it in your house. An animal or human passes by, you want it,
Right,
it
right.
goes off. And they are effective, and that might give you some relief.
Yeah, but I'm wondering whether the town could install something like that. Because the neighbors have it, obviously, but it doesn't point to that specific area.
The lighting down there, we were down there, and the lighting down there, the trees need to be trimmed back.
They did.
Yes, and you
Mike
did.
Zaleski did a fabulous
Mike did go
job
down.
down there.
Yes, he
So
did.
that should help with some of the
He trimmed
lighting.
everything back real
Right.
nice, and
Right,
it's gonna
yes.
be a while before we'll need a good trimming again.
I don't know
Right.
how
Got a
much
crew
you're gonna
cut.
like motion sensors, because the light will be on, off, on, off, on, off,
Yeah,
and every
yeah.
time you're gonna run to your window, and I think
Right.
that's probably more annoying than just having it lit up appropriately.
Yeah.
Not blinding the neighborhood, but
Right, I
having
agree.
lighting there all night. I think that's a better way to do it.
Okay, all right, well, we're just coming up
Is,
with.
is striping effective there, chief?
We don't have striping there right now.
Because I think that might be a little effective, and that might not be as costly.
To limit the parking?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that might,
A lot of the towns, they have posted how many spaces are available at their waterfront access points, and especially at Southold or whatever,
Yeah.
they say there's 5 parking spaces, there's 3 parking spaces, there's, you know.
can we limit the amount of time they're allowed to park?
let's,
No.
No, you can't.
No, you
Can't.
can't. I'm going
Can't.
out on my kayak. You tell me I gotta be back in 30 minutes? No,
Right,
it's not
right,
fair
right,
to the residents.
Right. So to launch something there, you've been there. You're
Yeah.
either jumping off the bulkhead or going down the stairs, so.
There's no steps left.
There's what?
There's no steps left.
Yeah, well, the steps were repaired,
Right.
and there's a
Right, they repaired them.
there is a
They repaired the
picture,
steps,
there is a
yeah.
picture of the stairs, and it's kind of like, again,
After I came.
yes, they did a good job.
Engineering put some lot of time in it, and also the highway department put a lot of time up there
Right,
since
right.
we had a meeting up there. so.
Right, so I
And
wondered.
they were there
Take-
yesterday
taking some
again,
initiatives.
maintaining.
Yes, they're maintaining, which is great to see.
Because we hadn't seen a maintenance down there in over a year and a half. You know, they hadn't been
Right, that's
down there.
good.
I was doing the cutting, I was doing the cleaning. I must have mowed that place down there 15 times. You know, I don't work for the town, but I want it to be nice.
Do you want to get, maybe put in for
No, thank you.
we need people in maintenance, by the way, just so you
They'll
know.
give you the application later.
I'd rather work for the chief and give out tickets.
Oh, there you
There's a
go.
position there too.
Yeah, that's right, there is a couple of positions, actually.
All right, there you go, you got a new job. So, can we talk about the water access appearing on the website?
WFA, Waterfront Access. or
Waterfront
the,
Association?
Riverhead,
That has to be, that's a legal, okay, 'cause that's defined.
What's illegal?
That's illegal. Do we have, can we get the definition? Well, it's also part of our code, right?
No, it's part of the code. It names the waterfront access points in the town of Riverhead. And
Right.
that is a water
Right.
point.
we were never informed, ever, that that was gonna be a waterfront access point. All of a sudden, it appeared on the website, and people are coming down with their kayaks and canoes. It's like you advertised for it. It was right up in a paper one time, and, it's, I don't know, it's just a lot down there, and, it's not a facility, it's not a town facility. You shouldn't be running it like that down there, and,
It's not being run like a facility.
it's not being
It's
run
just
like
a
that.
water point access for the residents to use and go.
Right, maybe
put
we
their
should turn it
canoes
into
in.
a waterfront viewing and not access, and then
I
keep,
disagree.
well, you got Jamesport
can't-
right up the block.
We've got them
2.5
all
miles.
over town. We've got
Pardon
them
me?
all over town, but that's the right of the residents to be able to enjoy the waters and the beaches of our town. It can't be just secluded for your neighborhood. That's not fair. It can't. I understand your problem, and we're working on the issues to try to
When was
help
it, when
that.
was it made a waterfront access?
I have no idea.
Okay, nobody knows. I've asked the question 50 times.
I don't know, that's
and,
not important to me. What is important to me, that we provide waterfront access to the residents of our town.
We were never asked that, as
It's not a-
residents.
It's not an ask for you. You don't own that property, the town does.
That's our community down
We
there, and the
get that,
town
but
is not,
that's
and the
our
town is not
property,
taking care of
And that's
it.
our property, and we will be taking care of it, and I think we've made strides in that direction.
Yeah.
So
We made
that's
Band-Aid
exactly what
strides,
we're doing.
okay, and we appreciate that, but more has to be done down there.
I agree.
But if you
There was-
limit it there, you put stress on the other waterfront access in Jamesport. And what you're trying to do is push it all on one thing, as opposed to there should be multiple points throughout the entire town for
Absolutely.
better balance for all the
And
communities.
these been established a long time ago. This just didn't come up. You're claiming that that's when you found it on the net. This has
Found it on
already
the
been
website.
established quite a while. we can research that, it's not recent, I can assure you that. The other thing is, you're gonna have other residents say, we don't want waterfront access. I lived in Southampton for 20 years. I know the battle of the big rocks, and I know people feeling that you are closing roads and building gates, and we're not gonna start that here in Riverhead.
No, all right.
People have
so-
waterfront access, they should have it, just like you should have it. You shouldn't have a group come in and say, I don't, you shouldn't have it. That actually increases the value of your house, just so you know.
But having said that, it doesn't mean that
That we
it has
can't
to
help you.
continue in the fashion that it's been
Sure,
continued.
we just want a little bit more
And
control.
part of it's
We
gonna
gotta
be,
tweak this,
That's,
we
that's
really
all,
do.
that's all
we
we're really
understand
looking
that.
for, is just a
And
little
I'm
bit of
not
control.
saying nothing should be done
Yeah.
by any means, but we can't close it off, because that's not fair to the rest of the residents. We have to better police it, we have to better take care of it. That's what we have to do.
And it seems like there's been quite a bit of progress,
Yes.
from what you're telling me. It seems like this, and now we're gonna
Well,
look at
that- now that
striping,
it's-
and
then
we're gonna
it's-
look at
right, so-
possibly lighting, which I thought, was a great idea.
Sure.
But there are ways to mitigate some of these things without telling, we're cutting that off
Right.
over there.
Some of the neighbors that live right there also complain that people idle, especially in the summertime, with the air conditioning going. We have party buses that would come down, like they drop their guests off somewhere and they'll park there, and it idles for a while. And, I mean, I don't know, another sign, I mean, we're just gonna plaster
No,
the
I
place
don't
with
have a
signs.
problem putting up a sign, no idling.
Yeah.
I kind of like that anyway, because it's better for the
Environment.
environment. I mean, in Vermont, you go up there and you park outside a store or whatever, and don't dare leave your car idling, because somebody will be on you
Yeah.
in a heartbeat telling you have to turn it off. Hot or cold, it doesn't matter, turn that car off.
It's a noise nuisance
It's
and an
noisy and
environmental
it's bad for the
nuisance.
environment.
That diesel
absolutely.
fuel smells.
It's
Yep.
good, Tina, you came with some of the solutions. When you have a problem, you should come with some of the solutions.
Absolutely,
That's great. So, I have a
absolutely. Be
question.
solution oriented, that's what I always
I have a question on the idling to the
Yes.
chief. Do we have something in our code?
I was just looking right now.
Okay.
He's on it.
Because if we
I've
don't-
never seen it.
I don't think I've seen it either.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think we do. That might be something we have to do through code revision
Yeah.
and
And that's
codify
doable.
something about idling at the beaches.
Yeah, the signage would have to be adjusted on all the signs down there with as little signs as possible. Not signs that you walk down and you think it's a commercial thing down there where,
Blocks your view, right?
well, it blocks the view, it doesn't
We don't
look
want
good,
that.
I mean, coming down Meeting House Creek Road, it's, it's a quarter-mile runway. So, but yeah, okay.
So let's talk about the runway. Okay, so Meeting House Creek has always been, it's always been a runway. I have letters back to the town, back from 1972, that it's always been a runway. They've always wanted to diminish the speed limit, which we know from the chief and many times talking to him, that is a state. The state will only go minimum 30 miles an hour. Okay, so having said that, can we put in temporary speed bumps, just in season, when it's the worst?
I can tell you I've addressed this on Pier Avenue with the Highway Department, and it's a nightmare. And they're having a similar issue that you're having, with
Right.
people speeding over there. There are speed humps, which I'm going to speak to the Highway Department about, because what happens is, they have to put them down. It does tear up the road, even if they're temporary. Then they got to pull them up, repair the road. But I think it's something that we need to explore, not only there, but in some other places where we have a similar problem.
Bob, I just came from a meeting this morning with the highway superintendent talking about the speed rumble strips or speed bumps, and adamantly against it. And I believe the chief is also. There's a part of it's because there's a liability towards the town. If you start putting speed bumps out and somebody hits it, say they're going at a high rate of speed, that's on them, but they hit it and lose control because of the speed bump, the town now becomes liable for whatever happens with that action. So it's an issue. And, we were talking about Iron Pier, and people drive into the Sound. Well, you can't correct stupidity. And if somebody, the speed bump's not going to stop them from going into the Sound. If they're intoxicated and they're flying down the road,
Yeah.
speed bump's not going to stop them. A sign's not going to stop them.
Right.
They're
Right.
just gonna go into the sound, and unfortunately, it's happened a couple times, but you can't prevent that. And we're not gonna gate off all these places to keep people from driving into the water.
Yeah,
That's on them.
Right.
I mean, you know,
we
that's
have
not
tried.
fair either, because that takes away aesthetically, if you're gating off the ends of your roads, it's not a nice look.
No, no. We have tried other measures, you know, talking to the chief over the years. We put out our little men, we put our cones out. We, people that live on Meeting House Creek Road have kind of inched out their cars and parked a little into the road to make it more, you know, narrower. But, you know, they come down, you tell them to slow down, they, you know, have all sorts of gestures that they're annoyed with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. I get it.
We sent out a community email blast to 80 families in the community that, you know, the speed limit is 30, but let's do 20. And tell your construction guys, your visitors, your guests, when you come in and out of the community, you stay at 20 as a, hey,
Courtesy.
as a courtesy. 30 is real fast, you know, and I have a lot of grandchildren that play in the street down the end of the block. We have one woman that, you know, I'll get back to Tim, that won't walk her dog at night down to the end, which she's 90 years old. And she's afraid to walk it down the block because there are suspicious cars down there.
What's that good for?
So my grandkids go down there, and you know what? They don't know what's gonna, you know, it's a box of chocolates down there. You don't know what you're gonna get, who's gonna be doing what, and, you know, again, after sunset, it's, you know, a little scary.
So the
We get a
difference,
speed cap.
sorry, so the difference between the bumps and the humps, you know, the humps are more gradual, which is kind of what they have in, you know, in Florida, they seem to have those, you know, through the communities. It's more gradual,
It's a race table.
Raised table.
raised table. So is that
You
less
know,
of
you
a
have to-
liability?
They do, everything poses a liability when you're in the roadway. The other thing is, we have to be cognizant of, and I forgot to bring this up, is emergency vehicles, right? So
Of
if
course.
somebody's having an emergency, you want an ambulance or a police car to get there as quick as possible. I don't know, you're saying, I don't know, you said it was a state road, that's? because the
No,
state-
no,
it's
I'm saying the
not
state, it's a town road, but the
So why
state
can't we
governs
do
the
some- can
speed
we do
limit.
something with the
State
speed limit?
mandates the speed
State
limit, not the
mandate.
town.
Oh, so.
Yeah,
I
that's-
just
No, I
looked
think
into
you-
that for Timber Park too, was asking that recently too, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
you need to lobby with the state a little bit, and maybe they need to do something, and I would speak to Assemblywoman Giglio. Maybe they can do something on access roads to beaches. And we need to bring that on their radar.
Okay, we can do that.
I just want to, Mr. and Mrs. Galuzzo are here from South Jamesport Avenue, and thank you for coming down. I met with them a couple weeks ago, and they have similar problems at the end of South Jamesport Avenue. It's a little bit different. The strip of South Jamesport Avenue is very narrow, going down to the beach area. And what happens is cars will go down right to the end, and the asphalt is all broken apart down there, and then it goes to sand. Cars are traversing off the asphalt into the sand to turn around and come back. It's a narrow strip, and it gets crowded down there at times. A lot of locals go down and use that beach. But it creates a problem, because like one in particular, the ice cream truck goes down, and he drives down, and everybody goes running up, the kids are all over the place, and then he's backing out of this strip all the way back up to the intersection. And there's kids running back and forth and whatnot.
That's.
Their property line has a chain link fence going down it, but it can only go as far as DEC would let them put it. And the public is constantly traversing across their property to get to the other side, below the mean high water mark, which, to me, to go to that side makes no sense. It's a rocky area. The beach is much nicer on the east side of the end of South Jamesport Avenue. It's much sandier and a better place to go. But it creates problems for them. There's chunks of blacktop down there, and I'll let you guys explain, but the blacktop gets washed up with the tide, and now kids are playing with it. They chuck it into their property, and the parking is an issue because it is so narrow. People are backing up into their fence and taking it, denting the fence and bending it over. People are down there at night also, after hours, doing God knows what, but we need the better enforcement down there too. And I think we need to look at suggestions I had when I talked to the Galuzzos is maybe continuing a barrier past the end of their property line, but also shortening the length of the road going down, because when you go all the way down, you're driving right out onto the beach to turn around and come back, and that's where the asphalt is broken up. The tide comes up often, and it just eats away at the blacktop. So we might want to shorten South Jamesport Avenue, the end of it, so the cars can't go down to get onto the beach to drive around on the beach. And if we could put a barrier, some sort of barrier up, allowing passage through, again, for people with coolers and kayaks and canoes or whatever, to use it as a beach access. But that's just some of the thoughts we had, and I'll let you guys speak on it now.
Well, it's not only that, it is also that the road, like you said earlier, is that it's very narrow. So they're parking up on the grass, up against my fence. And if they cannot make a turn in the sand, because there are probably 3-4 cars parked across sometimes at that end, what they do is they make a 360 turn in between the cars that are parked, up into my fence. But whether they hit my fence or not, the danger and the chaotic mess that goes on down there is unbelievable. We have many pictures, we have many videos. We really were not prepared today because we really didn't know what was happening here today. Councilman Hubbard does have a copy of some of those. We have some of them here today, but I don't know how we would let you
Well,
all see them.
I want to apologize if you weren't prepared. I know it was a last minute
Yeah.
notice. This was requested and put onto to the agenda last Thursday.
Right, so
So,
we
excuse
don't
me,
really know
Tuesday.
who, there is,
So, yeah, so that's why, and we get it.
okay,
And
so
I
yeah,
get
I'm
it.
not really prepared to
Yeah,
speak
but
today, I'm not good at
You
speaking.
have the
in front of-
liaison here, you have the beach, and he's
Yeah.
very aware. He's got a
So,
great committee.
yes,
And, if the code has to be changed, I'm sure that he's gonna work it out. You guys work out the code.
The
We're coming down
asphalt,
to
the
a visit.
environmental issue there, the asphalt that's going in, when there's a storm, the water comes up halfway to the road. My husband has pictures.
3
There's a-
telephone poles up, they've got pictures of
I
where
mean,
the water
there's
comes up.
there's a live, what is it called, the live pole down there?
There's 2 live poles with lights at the end. They're inundated with water most of the time in the winter. I mean, I got pictures of the water rolling 200 and
Right.
300 feet off the shore, completely. I mean, you have a sign there, beach access, the water is midway of the sign. It's crazy. It's 3-4 feet high, and they have utility poles in the middle of the water with a light on. I don't know.
You also have
how
the
they did
trash
that.
can on our side of the, on our side up against the fence, which I have no problem with people throwing their trash, but the trash is overflowing.
Fills up
And
cold.
when the kids feel like it, they just throw everything over the fence into our property. So not only do we have asphalt, we have beer cans, we have whatever they decide to throw for the day. Okay, it is just, again, you have to really see what goes on down there, and I'm sure police chief knows exactly what I'm talking about. The police presence is there, are there on occasion to look at the permits. Councilman Hubbard said, call the police every time you see all this going on. I do
Absolutely.
not want to be that kind of person. I do not want to be that neighbor. When I call him, I want it to be because I need him, not because I am having him police people. That should be the responsibility of Riverhead to take care of all these issues that are going on. It shouldn't be my responsibility.
No, no, but if you want to help solve the problem, the more the police are contacted and the more they get involved, the more people get used to the idea that the cops come down here all the time. This isn't a great place to go. I'm going to go somewhere else. The cop can't be there all the time.
Look, we
So-
have no problem with people coming
I-
down there. I have no problem with people
Right, if they're
going
doing the right
before the
thing.
water line. They could sit wherever they want. That is the law.
Right.
I'm aware of that. But we put signs up. They remove them. You know, how many times I put the signs up, they walk right across. Right now, if I call him, they don't even know, they think the end of the fence is the end of my property
Correct,
line. So
correct.
they think it's okay to walk across. So if I call him, what is that gonna do, the trespassing part anyway? You know, I need help from you for the border.
Right, that's what we
to
talked
border
about.
to
Because
border the.
what they did on Center Street is they put the piles with the thick rope all the way to the high water line, so people stay there, and they can see where the boundary is. Once they go past the last pole, you know, then they can go wherever they want. You know, but they did that, the town actually did that for them between the two residents, you know, and that helped it.
Yes,
tremendous.
Wading River too, same thing.
So we have a lot of kids that play there?
Yeah.
lot of kids. For some
Well,
reason, they
it's a-
come right
It's a
there.
children's park.
No, in front of our property, which again, I love children, just like I love dogs. But
Right.
when they're on my property, how would you like it if somebody came up in your driveway and parked their vehicle in your driveway? That's exactly what they're doing. They're parking right on my property. They're playing ball on the property. If one of those children get hurt, what is going to happen?
It's on
So
you.
that's why, yeah, but it shouldn't be on me.
I know that.
I need your help.
I-
I need your help to fix the problem.
Well, it would be on the town, and it would be on us together, and then the town would just turn around and say, listen, we're only, you know, we're only liable from the mean high water line, but we have no way to protect our property
I
line,
get it.
because DEC would not let us put a fence, they stopped it right where it is. So if the town comes and protects their road to their high water line, then the people will know that, listen, this is the end of the town road. Anywhere past that to the water, you can go. Anywhere this way,
Have you guys contacted the DEC? Because I've been working on them on a couple of projects, and once you identify a problem, they do make exceptions.
DEC was present on our site and attended a meeting that we had on the water, and there
Okay.
are only 6 agents, I believe, so 2 on a shift, and they are covering the entire east end from Orient Point to Montauk. And they say that the reality of them visiting a site, the best they could probably do is get there once a week at
So they
most.
stopped our construction.
Oh,
Right, that was
for
accurate,
piping
right?
Clover.
Just to change the
That's a little
lineage.
different scenario.
You know, no, I mean, that's
Well, I
our
mean,
only
if-
dealings with
you know,
DEC is what I meant.
We're talking about-
DEC might be interested in the asphalt deteriorating into
Exactly,
the beach,
yeah.
into the water. I mean, there's chunks of asphalt inside the water, you know, you can see it, they're all over the place. I'm there every weekend picking up chunks of asphalt. I mean, I got pictures of the asphalt, it's terrible. If
I
the
know,
water
I've called
keeps
them and
coming
they've showed
on,
up the next day.
keeps coming off,
So-
salt water. And, you know, the bonding
On
agent.
serious matters,
The
yeah.
bonding
Right,
agent
right,
that
right.
the asphalt
Pollution and
uses
possible
has a lot of
radiation, whatever it
chemicals.
is, so.
But anyway.
Well, the ice cream truck, okay,
Oh.
all of you have children, all of you have grandchildren. The ice cream truck, 2 of them, drives down to the end, backs up. People pass him, guys with their kayaks, who with their kites, children coming out of the park, and he's coming down. He yelled at him last week. I don't even know if the gentleman speaks English, but he goes, "Oh, don't worry, don't worry." What is this, don't worry? What?
They just keep doing it.
Who in God's name lets an ice cream truck
On a dead-end
packed,
street.
put back down the street? I mean, I know the man has to work, but go to the park, if people want ice cream, let them walk. There are many neighborhood people that walk down my street, not everybody parks down there. The people that are parking down there are not the neighborhood people. And they have no respect for the road, they have no respect for people walking back and forth. When you see 4 trucks parked across, that if you had an emergency and you needed to get an ambulance down there, you wouldn't be able to get it down there fast enough. Now, it does not happen every day, but on the weekends, when it's a nice day, again, I call it the chaotic mess.
And then we have truckloads of fishermen coming down there while people are on the beach and they're fishing right along the beach.
Is that even
That must
allowed?
be a
We're not
fishing
even sure
area
about
there,
that,
'cause there's a
what
bunch
goes
of
on with
rocks
that,
there.
with the fishing.
That is allowed because it's not a bathing beach. If it were a lifeguarded beach with ropes out, there would be no
Right.
fishing within that area, but that's not one of our
But
bathing
again, getting
beaches.
back to the sign that Tina was talking about earlier, we also have a sign, and it says facility and parking spots, access to the beach. Where are your parking spots? Where is the facility? I don't understand what that sign, what the purpose of that sign is.
Ray, could you take a look at that sign?
I,
Talking about the park sign?
Facilities.
With
down at
blue?
the end of the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah, that's our general park sign, we put it at all the ends of the blocks, whereas by town code, we
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, no beer,
But
no
it says,
alcohol.
it says a
Yeah.
facility, it says
Tim, can you
parking
just work
spots
with
there.
them on this? We have ice
But
cream.
there
So-
aren't,
Okay.
they're
And
parking
can
on
they
the
go
grass
sit
up
up there?
against my
No, I
fence.
know.
And they're also, when there's too many people, they park the other way, next to the sidewalk. There's a concrete sidewalk on the other side. 'Cause
Not
That'll be
saying
all
no,
right.
parking by permit only, we do have
Right.
signs for that, but
So they
nobody.
park this way, they park this way, the road's only 30 feet wide, which is a very narrow road. And sometimes, you know, somebody has to go this way and then back up, let the guy come in, now he goes this way. I mean, if
How
you
is
see the
that
pictures.
legal with that narrow, is that even legal? Is it legal? Is it, I don't
I
understand. What
was
is
down
the?
there, and since I've gotten emails, I've been to both locations. It sounds, and I spoke to Councilman Hubbard this morning, about, putting a barrier up like you're talking about. So that's something that can be worked out. The question I have for the chief is, can we put a sign that no trucks beyond this point? So that the ice cream trucks cannot go down there. To your point, they will stay up by that park area, and people will walk from the beach to the ice cream if they want ice cream. So that,
Or talk to the ice cream
But then
man.
that's enforceable.
it sounds like
That
the ice
doesn't
cream
work.
man was
Okay,
talking
but you
about.
have to
These
talk to
trucks
the
are
ice
not-
cream man, he
No,
doesn't
I
listen
know.
to me.
They couldn't even make a U-turn with this.
I had a hard time, I went all the way down
don't
to
have
the
a-
beach.
Then it's enforceable.
And I had a
because
hard
he could be
time.
ticketed.
But even if you put a barrier up, and
This year, no.
I'm all for that, it's going to end in the middle of the street. The street is still very narrow. There still has to be some enforcement that you still cannot park 4 cars across, or 3 cars across.
That's something that
I have a
think
picture
can work
of a
on.
Wednesday, I'm there on a Wednesday. There's a car parked here at the end on the sand, right at the end of the asphalt. The ice cream truck is here, and then there's another car next to him, and then the cars are lined up here. Not many, because it's a Wednesday.
I'm trying.
Why is
I
that?
think
Why is that?
people are
Why
gonna
are there
come up
3
and
cars
have
parked
prayed
like
for the
that
attorney.
on a
You know,
Wednesday
it's good.
at 2
They gotta
o'clock in
know
the
that.
afternoon?
We need to talk about the barrier and no trucks beyond this point. I think we need to address these things, and I'm not saying
Right.
Under code.
one by one, but, there's several I think that we could do it simultaneous, and so.
With
we'll work
code and with
chief.
the
Yeah.
chief.
Right.
And-
Last year, there was so many people down there, or might have been the year before, that there was a police officer in a car. I don't know if you know the park.
That was COVID.
I don't know if you know the park itself. She was parked perpendicular to the traffic going this way, and she would block the roadway because there was just too many people there. And then she'd move back, and then the trucks would go through, and then more trucks would come, and then she'd go back. I mean, she was there, back and forth, all day, trying to figure out how many cars are coming in, how many cars are coming out. I mean, some days on beautiful, nice, warm days, the place is loaded.
Oh, my God.
And then you got the Bay Breeze Inn that touts all their people that go there to go to the beach. What do? Their parking lot is full. The Mile parking lot completely full, so they take their cars and they bring them down there. I mean, it's like a mess down there.
We have
I've
Wi-Fi.
set up a meeting with the chief, with Ray, and Drew Dillingham from engineering, and we're coming down to walk the area and figure out what we can do down there, very similar to what we did with you
Right.
at Meeting House Creek Road. So I've already reached out to them, it's just a matter of us scheduling it together.
And that's the way it
And
should
I'll
be.
notify you, obviously,
Oh,
when
great.
Yes,
we're gonna
thank
be
you.
down there, so we can go over
When-
the issues.
And
When
that's
you
the
gen-
way it should be. We have other people who have to leave. So I know you need to do a comprehensive, get everybody together on the same page, and I'm sure you're gonna be resolved. And the same thing with you guys. We have a couple of solutions, chief, and then you have,
We'll talk
Just
about
wanna
the
say-
barriers
just
between
wanna
us.
say
We'll
that
talk about the
we've-
barriers,
We've talked about,
moving that barrier back.
Wait, it's like.
Dawn Thomas of Community, she's gonna look into some grant money to try to figure out how to repair the pier.
Okay.
The bulkheading along the
Right.
side, so we need to try to establish some more money, so she's looking into that.
Thank you.
Mike has been actively working down there for the highway department,
Yes.
doing stuff.
Yes, thank you.
I do agree, we did talk about, we were on site about just striping it and putting no parking on the other side, so it's kind of an easier in and out. And then we're talking to engineering about maybe just, moving, I think, that one fence on the one side a little bit closer to the edge, so you don't have that little hideout corner back there, so that everybody's more in the visibility area.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Right,
on neighbor's
right,
side
we
where it
got
tucks
those-
in.
we got those
So there's
done
things we're
about-
working on,
Yeah.
but we're on it, we're gonna keep plugging away at it.
Okay.
all right, so the guys, thank you. We have a busy
Okay.
day today. and-
Yes.
Thank you very much for
Thank
having
you
us.
so
Would you like
much.
to see the ice cream truck backing up 1,000 feet with chaotic
It'll be
people
addressed.
walking all over the place?
Ray,
Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Slow down, or 20 miles an hour.
I got one, I filled it with
Yes.
rocks and it's out in the road. And they're
Oh.
trying to hit it.
Did you want to say
But
something?
I thought it was pretty effective
Tim.
because
Can you just-
it did, no matter where you
Here,
look,
Mr.
you had
Corbin,
to sort of
for a
look
second,
the
you wanna
other
come up
side.
here?
Hi, Jack.
Yeah,
Wi-Fi
you've heard about the
and
t-
all
Okay,
these
just
rules,
indulge us for
The,
another
kids,
5 minutes.
monitor this stuff.
using their cars to take down fences. And at TikTok, it's like that challenge thing.
Yeah, you need
They already started on Devon's house. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, Jack.
Is that what that's about?
First of all, I appreciate each of you responding to my neighbors, but I just wanted to say something about the community, not the specific things that you're talking about, but the place where we live, and I happen to be a member of this community. Let me just start by, over the past decade, I have appeared before this board many, many times, all in a respectful way, I'd like to think, and in a constructive way. But I don't think for those of you who have listened to me that any of you believe that I'm hyperbolic. I'm a very reasoned, sensible person. The situation in our community is grim. I can't speak to the technicalities of a waterfront access, but I can tell you what goes on there. There is prostitution, there is drug use, and the reason for it is that the road ends in a beautiful place. So it seems to me that the solution is, how do we accommodate your interest in having the town people look out at the beauty of that place with the really horrible things that are going on? I don't know what the solution is, but I do know that Tina and Mark, as part of our community, are working hard to figure this out, and listening to each of you, I believe you care as well. But from our perspective, just let me say a few things about the community. We live in a place called Hockabuck Park. It was formed many, many years ago. It was a private community. If you look geographically at it, it's a peninsula. On the eastern side of our peninsula is Reeves Creek. On the western side is Meeting House Creek. On the southern point is Flanders Bay. It's probably a very unique community from a geographical point of view, but it's also a unique community from the people who live there. We are a very diverse community. I would think we're kind of the ideal Riverhead community. We have mobile homes. We have homes that were left over from when they were built many, many years ago for $500 a piece, some of which have not been improved. We have rather substantial homes on the perimeter that face the water. But collectively, we all get along pretty well. We don't always agree, but there's a civility and a respect that goes on between the people there. The thing that concerns me the most is, in order to protect the nature of this community, which is beneficial for this town, we need to find some way to stop the bad things that are going on. I'm not a huge fan, Tim, of Mr. Hubbard, of this waterfront access situation, in part because originally this was a private community. The town only took possession of these roads in 1935. Before that, the community owned all of those. So I don't think there's a real precedent, not to quarrel with you, that this is a waterfront access point. It had to have been created after the people in the community dedicated these roads to the town. I would respectfully ask that you consider that, because as long as that exists, we really will not be able to solve the problem of the other people who come there. The prostitutes and the drug dealers are not there to look at the view. They're there because it's a sanctuary for them. Why is it a sanctuary? Because it's better than any place else they can go to do what they want to do. We need to find a way to make it less desirable for them. And as long as we keep the thing open to the community in general, which is a great idea, I don't think that's going to happen. Secondly, there is a huge difference in the elevation between the water and the top of the road, where it ends. There is no way for anybody who's not strong, and I'm not anymore, or maybe I used to be, to get a kayak of any consequence from the top to the bottom. It just can't be done. If the goal is to have that as waterfront access and have people put their kayaks in, you are going to have to build quite a bit of a ramp to permit that to happen. That ramp will not last when the storms come in the wintertime. It's bad enough now that the bulkhead is so destroyed, and what we did to repair it is really amateurish, as I'm sure you all know. So what I really want to say to you is, as we work out a solution for this, I think the key ingredient has to be what goes on there that is really detrimental to a very special community. We don't want to protect ourselves from the rest of Riverhead, but we do want to live a respectful and civilized way amongst ourselves. So I would ask you to seriously consider, A, waterfront access. There are plenty of opportunities. Just up the road, when you pass the deli as you come across the railroad tracks, is a beautiful place that Mr. Pruzanowski arranged for long ago. There are benches there. There's a ladder that the town put in so you can get down to the water easily. That's only a short ways away for you to launch a kayak or whatever you want to do. And the elevation there, because of where it is, because the land is so much closer to the water, is much better. But in any event, I would just say to you, this community, in my opinion, is a very special place to the town of Riverhead. It represents everything that you want Riverhead to be, diverse and all the rest of it. So be very, very cautious, if you will, as you decide what you want to do to protect what exists there and protect the people that live there. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very much,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Orban.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody
Take
on
care.
the board.
Good luck.
Appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
All right,
Thanks for
next,
coming
I
in.
know that you guys are on a time constraint, Marge and Mr. Gabrielson. And Ray, is he back? Oh, yes, he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Ray. Yeah, he went to, he left, he did.
Much coffee this morning.
All right, for our next discussion item, it concerns matters surrounding possible change to recreation and park fees. We have members of the Recreation Committee here, Marge Acevedo and George Gabrielson, actually former councilman, George
I
Gabrielson.
promise it won't be as long. 5 minutes.
Yeah, and some of that
I know
could
we all
be
got
done
something to do.
Do you guys
internally,
have copies of the letter?
but it's okay.
Do you guys all have copies of the letter?
So, and we'll move forward. I know, Ken, you asked to put this on work session,
Yeah,
so
so
you want to take it
we,
from there?
we had another work session just a few days ago. We were talking about the need to take better care of our parks and our swing sets and basketball courts, and just throughout the town, things are just getting outdated and many dilapidated. And finances is the key component to putting this together. And so many years ago, when a new project was built in Riverhead, at that time, they paid $5,000 for each apartment complex that was in the town of Riverhead. The economy took a downturn and things went, less building and the ability for development and contractors to spare that expense of $5,000 per unit. It was made at the time by the previous town board to decrease it to $3,000. Well, since then, our economy has come back, and the pandemic is now hopefully long to be behind us. And so, but during the pandemic, our parks in our town were used, and Ray would certainly state this more than ever, our parks were used, incredible, like more than ever. And so, especially like Veterans Memorial Park and the crowds that came on a regular basis. So, but everything is about funding to develop the parks and to maintain the parks is a key component of this. And these new development projects, the money helps. And so if we can increase the fees from $3,000 to $5,000, it allows us to be able to accomplish the task that we want, to keep these parks pristine again. And so I'll let Marge and George have been excellent on the committee, so I'll let them speak.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Acevedo. I'm chair of the committee. This is George Gabrielson, he's
Thank you for
co-chair.
what you do. I know it's voluntary,
Yeah, it is voluntary.
doing it for a
George
long
and I
time.
spend a lot of time.
and you've been doing it for quite some time,
George's
correct?
been there before I was born.
I got on there
Oh.
1993.
I
my
went on
31st
in 2003, so we've
And
been together
I
a
think,
long
Tim, you
time.
were on it back then.
Yep.
You were on the committee back
Yes.
then.
Yeah, and Tim was a
93, 94.
liaison for a while too, on our committee.
That was
So
back with PAL, I was on the committee.
we've discussed this with our committee, and of course, our committee was unanimous on this raising the fees from $3,000 to $5,000. Being that the parks are in such disarray, I mean, we have so many pocket parks that really need improvements. We'd like to see more improvements done and additions done to EPCAL. And there is a history with this particular project of raising it from $3,000 to $5,000. And we hope you've all gotten letters from me. You all very graciously emailed me back agreeing that this should be done. So I'm going to hand it over to George. He'll give you a little bit of history of what we've gone through to get to this point.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the board for entertaining this, and it looks like we have support for it, because
You do.
right now, we're hurting for money. We got so many projects going, and we just, the money's not there right now. And this is kind of like a small step. I mean, we go 3 to 5, it's gonna help. Will it solve the problem? Probably not. I don't know if there's a point where we have to actually start budgeting recreation.
Or bonding.
Bonding, I think, is kind of out, because bonding now is what, 8%, 7, 8%, so I don't think we can afford to bond, which we could have a few years ago, it was only 2%. But real quick, I'll just give you a real quick history. Back in 98, 99, Victor Prishanowski and Bob Pike were on the board, and they initiated this. And I got on the rec committee in 93, and things was really booming in the early 2000s. I mean, you probably remember things were going up like every day.
Yeah,
Every day it was
absolutely.
going up. So 2005, myself along with the committee, I would really push to increase it from, it originally was 3,000 up to 5,000. And Ed Deniseski was really behind it. And I want to thank Ed too. He's done so much for recreation back in the day, but that's another story for another time. I could talk an hour about what he's done. But anyway, so we pushed it in 2000, I think it was in 5, that we actually, the town board at the time raised it up to 5, from 3 to 5. And then, like you had, Councilman Rockwell had mentioned that the whole economy collapsed around 2010. I mean, everything just went bust. So at that point, we figured it wasn't fair. We had a discussion in the committee and the town board. I was on the town board at the time. I was part of the decision to drop it back down to 3. Since then, fast forward, I think we're even, you know, the value is now really up there, probably even higher than they were when they were 5,000. I mean, if you did it in, you know, perspective, it probably should be 6,000, 8,000 now, but we think a modest would be 5,000 increase. And you'll get a little pushback from the developers, that's gonna be normal, but this is really, could be a step in helping our rec
Yeah, we really
programs to
need
move
to
forward.
beautify our parks, that's for sure. And this'll be a little bit of a help of
Yeah,
what
I
we
think
need.
it'll be a step forward, because it's not the subdivisions going on that were back in the day. I mean, I can remember Jack Hanson, the CFO in the town back in, I don't know, 2005 or something. We had a surplus like $1 million in the He's going, look, you guys, you gotta spend it.
Right.
You know, we built the skate park, was one of our projects, but we were spending, we couldn't even spend it. And of course, now everything's changed quite a bit, so I'm hoping that.
Be nice to get back to those times, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, right, wouldn't it?
Yes and no.
Yeah, I have a question.
Give the beach committee fits if we do it.
Yeah, right.
So, I have no problem raising the fees.
Okay.
But is this something that you can grandfather in to certain projects that came in
Absolutely,
years
that
ago?
was the other thing.
Yeah.
Everyone that's in the
Because I
hopper.
think it's a
Yeah,
very,
we
very important.
want to grandfather everything that's
Yeah, because
there
now
right
it
now.
becomes that, and you
It's
don't want to
fair.
get tied up where we made
Right,
an
we-
application that sat in town for 6 years,
Right.
and it was that then, and now you raising them, and we can't get a site plan because of that, so I think, and I'm glad that you agree, you're very,
Yeah.
being very
100%.
reasonable.
No, we
Everything-
agree.
That works for us, and I'm glad that you
Yeah.
agree, and.
We think everything going forward should be 5,000,
And I
but
think
Everything now
anything
is
should
that's,
go
in a hopper,
immediately.
we're fine.
right.
I think it should happen, provided the board supports it, I think it should be done immediately, because there are projects, you know, continuing, we're still building the town square, so absolutely.
Anne Marie, how would we do the cutoff line for that, where we
So-
would have to determine what the,
So I'm going to recommend to the town board, just being asked this off the cuff, that we base it upon preliminary subdivision approval. So if an applicant has not even come in for formal preliminary review, we could do, even without preliminary approval. But the applicant has to be far enough along in the process to really make sense to grandfather it in.
Right, you don't want them coming back 2 years later. And
Correct.
it sat there, and and I agree, as long as it's something that's substantive, right, it's substantial in nature, they could say, okay, this is a viable
far
product,
along.
it's gone through the planning
Yeah.
board, let's say,
I
or it's
mean-
gone through, or it's in
Right.
the middle of going through the planning board, then you're gonna say, well, hey, guys, sorry, just, you know, we're gonna do this, and I think that'll help you too, and.
Yeah,
I
we
think
agree
it's
with
good.
that.
Okay, great, thank
Can I have
you.
a question, can I ask you guys a question? One of the things that I've been looking at in, especially in Nassau County, is public-private partnerships with people who come in and do, you know, when we met with you on the soccer, right, we want to do something like that. Currently, it's not permitted in our town. I would like you guys to explore that a little bit, because that would bring in revenue. My second question is this. How do you feel about the beach permitting, no day passes on beach permits? Because we did lose $53,000 last year. We're losing $53,000 or more this year. And I've been visiting the beaches, Iron Pier and Jamesport Beach. I quit counting on a Saturday afternoon when it was 87 degrees, sunny and beautiful. After 30 spaces, I said, this is ridiculous. Spoke to the girl in the booth. She said, it's always like this. I have the numbers from Ray. In addition, then I go to Pier Avenue Beach, and the same thing. Half the spots are empty. The concession stands are going nowhere, right? So what I'd like you guys to do is maybe sit with the beach committee and try to make some kind of sense. We're losing a lot of revenue there. We're talking about 5,000 a year. So at the end of this year, these 2 years, we are losing $106,000 that should be going toward recreation. So I just would like you guys to think about that.
There's a balance to that, Bob, though. I can tell you that in Wading River Beach, okay, we're bordering Brookhaven, and there's very limited beaches. You know, one that lives in, there's one Shoreham Beach, but others that are living within that area. In Mount Sinai, have to go from Cedar Beach, coming west. So Wading River Beach we cannot provide enough parking, we cannot provide enough services,
to be
and
clear,
you
I
cannot
wanna
get
be-
in. So
yeah.
when somebody is in Brookhaven and is literally a half a mile away from that beach,
All right,
that's
so
the
I want to
problem.
be extremely clear about this. This is specifically targeted at South Jamesport Beach and at Pier Avenue, and the reason is because all the stats are there. I'm aware that Wading River,
They're the two bigger beaches. Reeves Beach also
yeah,
has
Wading
no
River
extra
Beach
room.
during the
Wading
week,
River
though.
Beach should be considered a pocket beach because it's so small. It
No,
is a small beach.
Again, this is focused on the two beaches based on all the data, right? And even some of these other beaches during the week have very low attendance, and we are paying staff, blah, blah, blah. But if you could just focus on the South Jamesport Beach and Iron Pier that are half empty on amazing, beautiful days.
Is
and
that
what we can
possible
do
to
to
enforce
grab
that,
revenue
Ray?
there.
I know.
Ray, is that possible to enforce that?
What's that?
Just day passes at certain beaches?
Yeah, you definitely can't do them at Wading River or Reeves. There's
Just the two
the
we're
stats,
thinking
they're
about.
sold out every
South
weekend.
Jamesport and Pier.
Can you enforce that?
I think,
It's,
uh,
we can
Council makes a good
provide
point,
them, yeah.
Yeah.
but I have thought this out myself and probably agree with him somewhat, but the western beach is absolutely not.
Yeah, I
But
get
like
it.
you say, the
Let's-
east
Let's
beaches
keep the
are
focus
not a
on the two
problem.
beaches.
If
yeah.
you go, because our family uses IMP, obviously, it's close, and during the week, there's nobody. Weekdays,
it's
there's nobody
empty.
there.
It's
It's
dead.
not an issue. I mean, you think the weekend is half empty, during the week, there's nobody there. I think we're losing the revenue, and, we kind of got this thing, welcome to East End, best town in, US, or the second best town, but you can't come to our beaches, that's part of our charm. So I think from a business point of view, you open those beaches, they're absolutely stopping at the farm stands, the local delis buying sandwiches out east, the west, so even it's hurting business to a degree, because now you're shutting all the doors, and if you go in there, people still go in there to get the tickets. TCO is writing tickets out there in Jamesport. I know a number of people, and they're like, "Ah, the heck, I'm not coming out here." It's a bad feeling, but I think the eastern,
Well, the
if
two
we can
beaches were.
do the,
yeah.
can
Is
do the
it
legal things, it's
possible,
awesome.
Ray?
Because
to
suppose your
just-
revenue's coming out there
Yeah.
too, probably, right? For non-residents?
Yeah, we don't get any, obviously, we don't get any revenue from non-residents. but-
No, I mean, if you open it for non-residents, that's probably a big part of what you got before was coming from the
Yeah, I
eastern
mean,
one.
we,
I don't think,
what Bob said is what I say, 55,000 a year from non-resident day passes and annual passes.
It's a nice piece of change.
And even if you looked at,
Tough.
on those two beaches, okay, you did Monday through Friday, I mean, it's pathetic. And I can tell you this, when I travel somewhere, if I can't use the beach, why am I going there?
exactly.
And to your point, when I do travel and there are beaches, you're eating at restaurants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But to me, that's a disservice to the residents of Riverhead. And why is it a disservice? Because we're losing a revenue opportunity that we can share with parks that need it. It's not specific to those particular beaches. But that's just, I'd like you guys to come back
Tim,
with
did
some
you wanna-
suggestions.
As liaison to the beach
Yes,
committee,
thank
they
you.
are adamantly against it.
Yeah.
Adamantly
Back 'em up
against
with
it.
that.
And to be clear, the focus of the Rec Advisory Committee, the focus is utilization of the park and recreation fee monies. Those monies are, they make recommendation on how to spend those monies.
So the wrong committee to talk, is
Yeah,
that what you're telling me?
exactly, yeah.
Not this.
So can we go back to the heart of the matter here in terms of, Emery, if you can, a little bit in terms of what are the restrictions on the funds that are collected, okay? And so that the public has a general understanding, because this seems to be a continuing point of how the money can be utilized, whether it's for new projects, new swing sets, new basketball courts, pickleball, and then compared to the overall maintenance spending, and also where the money can be spent, which is a big concern and to many residents. Well, when something happens downtown, here on Main Street, does it affect Wading River? Does it affect, Bating Hollow, Jamesport, and not necessarily? So if you can just.
So presently, under state statute, Town Law 277 and 274A, park and recreation fees may be spent on capital projects, not maintenance or repair. In addition, the interpretation of those statutes states that if you collect park and recreation monies from a project, let's say located downtown, you're collecting those monies due to the increase in population or potential increase in use of existing facilities. Therefore, those park and rec monies should be spent in proximity to address that particular impact in population, that area.
That's the intent of the code.
And it's legally been interpreted that way. And just for the record, I knew you would ask, I forwarded you directly from Westlaw, case law on it.
But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because what's so important and how it affects the fees from 3,000 to 5,000 is that what I'd like Ray to have the ability to do is within his own budget to allocate less money towards new projects, replacement of swing sets, pickleball courts, basketballs, where we can use the park and rec funds to do that, leaving him more money in his pot for the general overall maintenance and repairs of the parks to bring them up to,
Well, part of the problem derived from the fact that the money was coming in and could only be used for capital projects, so these pocket parks went up, park improvements went up everywhere, but the maintenance of them, we couldn't afford to keep up with it. So, yeah, we could build a new park, but guess what? There's 6 others that need work. We
Yeah,
don't have any money to
we
repair.
have one park
So it's
right
like
now.
a bad balance of how that money was being
We
used.
have one park right now, Two Bears, that is,
Yes.
it's almost dangerous. And, we've repeatedly asked to have this park brought up to speed, that it's a safe environment for the people in that community, and it hasn't happened.
Well, it's basically a building and grounds thing. It's
Yeah.
a maintenance. You want to pull the shrubs out. They're all asking for, clean it up.
Clean
The
it
shrubs
up.
are overgrown. The kids are playing, the parents may be in the courts playing, they can't see each other because it's all like, it's basically, I think, a B&G issue.
so
Well, also,
one of the
tennis
things that.
courts and new basketball courts, those are just destroyed, so.
So it's other things too.
It's
It
other
would
things
lead,
too,
let's start with the
But
cleanup.
Leah,
So
let's start with the
one of the things that we
cleanup.
wanted to do, and I was asking my fellow board members, I ask now at this work session, is that for support, that I would like to, with the Parks and Rec Committee to advocate to Senator Palumbo and Assemblywoman Giglio to try to, we do need to make some changes in our state law to allow this money to be utilized more for maintenance, because like you say, it's nice just to keep, exactly what Councilman Hubbard said, it's nice to keep putting new
And
projects.
Amber will tell you
but
that
you
we
have
have
to
the
keep it
same
up.
problem with open space as well. All of these projects that we get where the county
Yeah.
buys these
And that's,
areas.
I'm on open space, and we
Yes,
have
yeah,
the same,
we have the same
we have the
issue
same
there,
issue
yeah.
on open space,
And so,
maintenance.
and I've heard that, and I commend Councilman Bayrod has worked very hard on that, and he's tackled this issue, but I think our, with the future sessions, in the state being far out, I just think that, I'd like to be able to continue on what Councilman Bayrod started towards the fight with the
No,
state of
and
New York.
Anne Marie's really spearheaded everything in that regard. It's just a
Right.
matter of getting it to the officials.
We tried to move it forward numerous times, and I
Yeah.
have it documented. And Councilman Rockwell has volunteered to carry the torch.
Yeah, Marie, why can't we, if it's our town code that we're taking money, why can't we make the changes to allocate it? Why do we need the state's permission to make a change instead of putting it just towards capital projects to use it for maintenance also?
Because it's a specific law, state law. We have to amend the state law. So it's already drafted for you. You know, we have the final amendments that we worked on.
Yep.
They're ready to be sent up to the state. We need the state to adopt it.
So I have a question, Emery.
We can't
Amber, can you
supersede their
share-
law.
It's a state issue when it should be a town issue.
I
Anne
agree
Marie-
with you, but
Can you share, after the meeting, can you share what information you have that you sent the draft and make sure that the rec committee has a copy of it?
Sure.
Because I think they look a little bewildered that this just, popped onto them at the moment, so.
well, I've talked about it before,
No,
so
no, I'm just saying, just give
it's
us.
not
discussed it
really
anyway.
popped up.
So
I
we
mean,
can
we
No, to
already
them.
talked about it
No,
before.
Like Mark said,
Emily,
she's
what-
on the open space committee, so you're
Right.
familiar with it anyway, yes.
Yep. we're
Anne
having a
Marie,
problem with
does
it.
that law that you're referring to, does that prohibit the town? Does it prohibit us from creating some sort of a law, right, that allows us, let's say Jamesport is flush with money because they had, 100 houses built in a subdivision, but we just finished their park. Is there something that prohibits us from borrowing against that money for Two Bears? What would prohibit?
I believe
because
so.
Okay, what,
You know what?
why?
I have the law. It's in my computer. I've shared it with Councilman Rothwell. I'll email the entire board.
No,
Rather than giving a legal dissertation on it.
No, I just
I have the
need
law.
an answer.
So the answer is,
There's no mechanism
that will not
we-
be supported under
So
law.
is that part of this legislation
Can I appeal to
request?
the board on something with this topic? Because
No,
it
this-
came it came to fruition this year, which really put our department in a very difficult spot. Yes, there are very limited funds in park and rec fees. So what we do is whatever park needs it the most, we'll put that money towards it. We're a small town. We're not Brookhaven, we're not Islip. So this year, we had two huge projects that we had to do. One Wading River swing set and one Horton Avenue basketball court. I had the funds in park and rec fees to do those. Wading River residents continue to call us. Swings are in disrepair. Councilmen have asked me to replace it. B&G was gonna paint it, but it was just unreplaceable. So I had the setup back in March, April, around there, to have the swings replaced. Then I was told I cannot use the money, so I appealed and appealed, because we haven't used that money right in 30 years, to be honest with you. And I was denied, and now the swings were removed, because it was dangerous, and now our department is flooded with calls from Wading River residents. Why did you remove the swing set? And what do we answer? I'm not gonna say the reason, but that, and then Horton Avenue was a nightmare to get done. And we found a company at the very last minute to get that done. And they got it done, otherwise it wouldn't have been done.
And there's been a
Councilman Kern had to
basketball
step in for
tournament
that.
this weekend.
The basketball tournament, yeah, and it was.
That kind of bothers me though, because that was redone shortly after I got elected to my first term. We didn't get
Correct.
much use out of that park to have
They're
it
there all the
redone.
time.
and just-
I
They're
don't
there
disagree
all
with
the
you.
time. They really are.
It needed, there was a lot of,
Did we not get a
cracks,
good job
things-
done the first time? Because that should have lasted
years, I know.
much longer than us having to redo it again.
I agree with you.
That's a
I'm not
good
gonna
point.
throw anybody, I was not in, I was part of the project, but I didn't hire the people to do it, so.
It does get a lot of play there, though. I
It
go
does.
past it.
Yeah, but to
daily.
Tim's point, what are they warranted for after they surface it?
Well, again, it's a philosophy situation here, because we have traditionally, under different departments, bring in several different people to do the job. We did it at Stotsky Park, and I was against that, because if something happens to the Stotsky Park tennis courts, which are beautiful right now, who is in charge of fixing it?
Okay, so
Which four companies?
I
that
have,
did it?
on the agenda today was rec fees. we resolve this. We would love for you guys to come back again. This is on the agenda, and we have our attorneys waiting.
Okay.
Can I just make a quick comment?
Yeah, of course, and
Or
we're
just-
always gonna,
just-
you know,
just a
work
quick
on
one.
this.
I'll wrap
But
up
let's
my point of view.
keep on with the agenda, otherwise I have to now add another topic,
But
and it could become a lot longer.
Okay, thank you. for
So, yeah, if
giving
you
me
don't mind,
2
we'd
more
love to
minutes.
have you
Thank
back,
appreciate
but
it.
we'll give you as much time as you want.
Historically, and Tim probably remembers this, historically, the funds came out of the rec fund and got spent everywhere. Okay, Anne Marie did the legalese the last 2 or 3 years and said we can't. But I guess out of ignorance, whatever, we always spent them whatever, it was never an issue.
We didn't go to jail.
And so now so we can go back to the developers and say, hey, my money
Why
didn't go
would
there,
we?
give it back, but whatever.
The risk at hand, though, George,
What was
is
the
that
risk?
if a current developer
Right, no, I
says,
understand that. I'm just giving
show
history,
me where
but
my
I'm
money
leaving
went
it-
and what I
that's-
did with it,
that's-
that's where the
That's
problem
obvious.
My
But what I'm-
request is,
Exactly right.
my request is that when they do this, change, put the request in to change this legislation, that we make sure that it can be spent, the monies can be spent any place in the town, within our town. That, I mean, can we request that in the legislation?
You wanna
Let's
bring this
try
back
it.
to work session?
Didn't the town make this rule?
Let's
my
bring it back to
opinion,
work session.
So-
But
I'm
Marge,
asking everyone now.
Right.
I was told it was gonna be short.
Right.
We're paying for 2 attorneys, well, what,
Right.
yeah, 2, because you all getting paid, waiting here, and now we're going
Going
into
into
this
legalese.
whole
Yeah, I
thing.
didn't finish my thing.
So, you wanna come back in the next work
Yeah, we
session?
will.
Tell us, we'll
Thank you
we'll
very
give you a
much.
lot more time.
can we just
okay?
say with this topic, though, and I understand about projects in the pipeline, Anne Marie, and I want to be respectful to them, but I also would like to then put an end date. That, so if something is in the project pipeline and it's going to sit there for 2-3 years, there's got to be, you know, something within a year from now or something, here's the end date. If you haven't paid the rec fees at that point,
And it's-
Provided,
then we move on.
Yeah,
That's, that's an excellent.
yeah, it's a,
Okay.
And
Not
this-
going to
Excellent.
submit your plan and sit on it for
Right,
10
they're
years.
like
Right,
6
yeah,
years.
that's what
And
we
this really
discussed.
isn't fair to areas of the town
We
that have no
discussed that, right?
development
That
going
has to
on.
have
If they have no
substantial
development,
and
they'll
not-
never have money.
Perfect.
If a
Okay.
developer gives us permission to develop in Jamesport, and we said to them, we'd like to utilize this money over in Wading River.
You
As
can
long
do
as it's for
anything by
parking.
agreement, Bob.
Oh,
Ah, look, Liz, there you
that?
go.
Okay, thank you.
So,
You know,
those
but
words.
Okay.
under law is a different story.
The
But if
state
somebody
is
wants
so
to
antiquated
voluntarily,
in their laws, it's like pathetic, but anyway, are we done?
okay,
Yes,
thank you
we
very
are.
much.
I need a stretch.
Marge,
Come back.
thank you both very
George,
much,
yeah.
thank you.
We'll have you
Thank you,
back.
folks.
Thank you.
Tell
I'm
us.
sorry you're not on the beach committee.
Okay, you take care.
Just what she needs, another committee.
So Debbie's
I'm not
not
on
here,
the
I guess, so
My committee gets
I
banged
guess
up.
we're gonna have
My
Debbie
committee
read the
gets-
resolutions. Is she here?
Banged up for being too powerful, meanwhile, these other committees are running the town.
Good morning, Debbie. I know it's been a busy night, morning, and we've been back and forth, but I never didn't get to say good morning. Okay. Okay. Go, mic up a little higher.
Can you hear me?
Yes. go
Okay,
ahead.
good. All right. Resolution 1, approves fireworks application for Baiting Hollow Club. 2, Water District Capital Project 82126, budget adjustment. 3, adopts a local law amending Chapter 289-10 of Riverhead Town Code entitled Parking Prohibited, Toomey Avenue. 4, authorizes to publish advertisement regarding a request for proposal for planning, design, and engineering of the proposed Town Square Adaptive Playground. 5, adopts a local law amending Chapter 289-10 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Parking Prohibited, Peninsula Path. 6, authorization to publish advertisement regarding a request for proposals for the planning, design, and engineering of the proposed Town Square Riverhead Amphitheater. 7, appoints a maintenance mechanic 2. 8, appoints a maintenance mechanic 2. 9, adopts a local law to establish Chapter 117 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Mandatory Surcharges and the Appropriation of Fees. 10, appoints a maintenance mechanic 2. 11, ratifies authorization to destroy and discard obsolete surplus cubicles. 12, appoints a traffic control specialist. 13, appoints a crossing guard. 14, ratifies the appointment of a call-in recreation aide to the Recreation Department. 15, rejects bid for Ford Auto Parts and authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for rebid for Ford Auto Parts. 16, awards bid for large meter replacements for Riverhead Water District. 17, authorizes supervisor to execute agreement with Riverhead Youth Sports, Inc. for the referee umpire services for Town of Riverhead Police Athletic League football program for the 2023 calendar year. 18, Water Capital Project number 82310, 730 Sound Avenue hydrant closure. 19, authorizes Town of Riverhead Water District, RWD, to transfer property described as SCTM number 0600-108-2-2 to the Town of Riverhead, TOR, and authorize the Town of Riverhead to transfer a portion of property owned by the Town of Riverhead described as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-76-1-13, subject to permissive referendum pursuant to Town Law 64-2 and Town Law 208A and B. 20, awards bid for truck parts. 21, authorizes the supervisor to execute short-term runway agreement for Racetrack Not Street Track Summer Series 2023. 22, accepts the retirement of a laborer. 23, authorizes the supervisor to execute a stipulation agreement with the Riverhead PBA. 24, change of title for an employee. 25, ratifies the promotion of a police officer to the position of Detective Grade 3. 26, awards bid for auto parts. 27, appoints member to the Recreation Advisory Committee, Parsons. 28, approves special event Chapter 255, application for Jamesport Fire Department Sound to Bay 5K, 10K race. 29, establishes the Town of Riverhead Beach Advisory Committee and reappoints initial members to the Town of Riverhead Beach Advisory Committee, nunc pro tunc. 30, establishes the Town of Riverhead Inclusion Task Force Advisory Committee in place and instead of the Committee for the Disabled, and appoints initial members to the Town of Riverhead Inclusion Task Force Advisory Committee, nunc pro tunc. 31, authorizes supervisor to execute an MOA with CSEA Local 1000, AFSCME, AFL-CIO Riverhead Unit of the Suffolk Local 852. Number 32, amends resolution number 2022-687, adopted on September 20th, 2022, as and for the Town of Riverhead request for County of Suffolk County for approval, and sale of certain real property owned by the County of Suffolk, described as Suffolk County Tax Map numbers of District 0600, Section 128.00, Block 05.00, Lots 001.000 and 002.000, located at Griffin Avenue, Town of Riverhead, Suffolk County, New York, pursuant to 72-H of the General Municipal Law. Number 33, authorizes purchasing technician to attend virtual seminar.
people that got
Number
appointed should go
34,
online.
amend salary increase for deputy town supervisor.
Can we pause just for a minute on this one here? So 34, amending the salary for deputy town supervisor. So just looking at the resolution that's written, says it's a 5% increase, but the salaries don't match up. 5% would be over 10%. And I just wanted to find out why we're doing it at this time of year. I know you put out a memo that you weren't gonna do any raises for any other departments, and we were holding off, so I just want to get some clarification on these last two. And the numbers don't match up.
Okay, absolutely, and there was a memo, and we are in the budget process, and certain circumstances, we have made exceptions, and we're gonna stick with it. We should be finished with the budget process back in September. And I know that you're questioning that, but if you read the resolution, it said that it was budgeted for last year. This was funds that was put in 2022 for, as a raise. The person was here for 2 years, it wasn't here 1 year, was here for 2 years, did a great job. And the individual, when we went through the budget, Bill, you wanna come forward? Myself and Bill last night, as we're going, comparing last year's budget and this year's budget, we realized that those two raises that were budgeted, it's in the current budget, were not provided. And just like we have throughout this year, every time we find an error or an omission, we correct it through a resolution, and I think Bill can also add to that.
It just, the numbers on it, it's not a 5% raise. So the numbers don't match up when you're looking at
Okay,
the
so you're
resolution.
moving away from, we're not giving merit raises, we're not,
I'm
we're
not,
just
I'm not giving,
correcting.
I'm saying the
No,
numbers
okay.
don't match up,
Okay.
Supervisor, so you have to correct the
Relax,
resolution.
let me
so-
talk, okay.
Go ahead, so
The
match up the
wording
numbers.
of the reso, I think, is what it is, because it talks about a 5% increase was budgeted for 2023, but not implemented. And
Yes.
now it comes back to what the salary should be, and the
Right.
salary is more of a 10% raise because it was 5% from the year prior that wasn't given, and then 5% for the current year.
So-
Okay, so we'll have
If
Bill,
I'm-
yeah.
So the
Fine.
raises for this year, for all staff that follow the CSEA contract, even though they're not part of CSEA, was 1.25% in January, because CSEA did not have a contract. Then when they ratified their contract, everyone who follows that got the same 5% that they got. So it should have been 6.25 at the beginning, but it was split January and when CSEA got their contract. So that's the 6.25 that everybody had gotten.
So now 23, we got a new contract, so that includes, that would raise the salary,
They're not part of
So
it.
in addition to that, the
They all get it.
supervisor had budgeted.
they all got it.
In addition to that, the supervisor had budgeted for 2 employees in her office that had been here from the beginning to get 5% increase above and beyond that. That's what was missed after January 1st. They were never given the budget they were never given a raise that was in her original budget.
So you're changing the salary as of today, or are you trying to do this retroactive to pay them back from January? Because I know when we had other employees, you had said retroactive was illegal and you couldn't do it, so has
That's
that
if they
changed?
come right now for, if they come right now for, a raise, to give them a retroactive, should not, it's not appropriate in most circumstances, but this was already budgeted for the person, just like, it was put into the budget in the past for, starting in 2023. And then comes the addition of the CSA employees, which all, like Carol got, all the other employees got, and they got that raise, and that is separate from this should have been done in the reorganization meeting in January, correct, Bill? It was missed, okay? There's nothing going back, it was missed then, and it should have been done in January. And now, as we found out, and just like we found out some employees, there's been other resolutions coming up, and we correct the resolutions. There was no extra pay for that person. There was no going outside the norm. As the resolution states, it's was put into the budget in 2022, which this board adopted. It was in there, and there was an error. The reorganization meeting in January, which is normal, which lists all of this, someone failed to put it in, and so now we're putting it in.
So it was budgeted, but it wasn't implemented, is all you're saying?
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
But the question is, if it's just the way this is worded. I don't have a problem with this, other than the wording. The salary was reported at 86, and a 5% increase was budgeted for 23 but not implemented. Therefore, the correct salary as of January 1st, 2023 is about $9,000 more,
So-
where a 5% increase would have been half that.
Correct.
I'm just saying the way it's worded, it
I
reads a little...
added, I guess it didn't get into the packet, I added this morning one more whereas saying the current salary is.
Okay.
That would include what they got in March
Okay,
because of the
that's-
union.
yeah, it's
Then
not
you're going
here.
from
I think that's
what it
Yes.
was to
That's what the-
5% more, and then the final is 5% more than that.
Right.
I think I can probably print it out for you. You can
I
see
was
it.
told it was corrected this morning, but
Yeah, but I
Debbie
guess it never got
informed
in
me,
the
so,
packet.
Okay.
So it
which is
doesn't
fine.
reflect the number's 10%
Yeah.
when it's actually the original 5 plus another 5.
But this is, again, budgeted, actually, you had the best words. It was budgeted, never implemented. And that should have taken effect January, when everybody else's raises took. So we're not going outside the norm. So is that more clear for you guys? No?
I just don't know why they didn't come back in January and be like, I got my first paycheck of the year, where's my raise? You know what I mean? Why are we waiting till August to go,
Well,
where's my raise?
That says something for my
That-
office.
actually, it
They're
was
not,
found-
they're not necessarily money
It
hungry.
was found when we were doing the budget. That's how we discovered it, because we're saying, well, you were budgeted for this amount, but we're looking at it and reconciling 23 and going forward to 24, and the numbers don't jive. That's how we found the error.
Yeah, we've just found it through the budget process. But again, that says something
Thanks,
for my
Bill.
office, that 2 employees didn't check their paycheck and come running in, where's my raise? They just said, okay, it didn't happen. So I commend them, and I think that's something we should be proud of. All right, you want to continue?
Yep. So, the last one, 35, amend salary increase for secretary.
I just have a question. Emery, did you do a resolution for the authorization to, this is about published advertisement regarding a request for proposals for the planning, design, and engineering of the proposed town square adaptive playground? The reason why I would ask whoever did this resolution, just look at paragraph 3 in this. Do you have the hard copy of this number 4?
Which
I'll
one,
show
number
you,
4?
yeah.
I did not prepare that, but I can look at it immediately after the work
Yeah,
session.
paragraph number 4, there's some redundancy, and also the line just leaves off. Okay.
I'll take a
I
look
just
at
have
it.
one announcement
Oh,
before
sure.
we go into executive session. I just
Okay.
got notice that the Riverhead
Oh.
Townscape Summer Stage Tonight Show with the amazing Ivan has been postponed until August 31st due to inclement weather in the forecast, FYI.
Thank you, because a lot of people are planning on going. No, if we had an amphitheater, we'll probably take off, right, because they could have a cover over it. All right, so, we read the resolutions. This is gonna conclude our discussion items, and in a moment, I'm gonna ask for a first and a second to go into executive session to discuss the following. And we have one matter up, and that's contractual matters surrounding possible change of agreement and application status between the town of Riverhead and CAT. And I'll be myself, Prudenti, and we have our outside counsel, who's been waiting here patiently since 10 o'clock. Is here, and we're going into executive session. Can I please have a first and a second to enter into executive session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Favor? All opposed? So moved. Everyone be safe.